passionate, I mean passionate about helping people, because Ed lived in a haunted house. He lived in a haunted house in Bridgeport, Connecticut from age 5 to age 12. So he said to me, when I got out of the Navy, I said, I'm gonna find out if other people had the same experiences that I did when I lived in that house.
From the time that I was about 7 years old, I remember seeing lights around people. I realized that I was communicating. My Catholic faith is very, very important to me and still is today, and that helped me.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Secrets of the Supernatural. First, we got a great show tonight. We got our guest from Ghostly Images down in Gettysburg, which we're going to be doing our event down there at the orphanage.
Our sold out event.
Our sold out event and the Jennie Wade House. So that's going to be our event at the weekend of July 11th, guys. That's where we're going to be down there with Annabelle. Down at the orphanage.
All 3 days.
All 3 days. And I believe that first day, we're going to be doing investigation at night with the items inside the orphanage.
Yep. Which we already know that place is active. So it should be interesting.
Yeah. So, and we just booked another stop that we're going to be making in Augusta, Maine. What date is that going to be?
September 5th, 6th and 7th.
In Augusta, Maine.
In Augusta, Maine.
So, guys, if you weren't able to get your tickets here for Gettysburg, go to warrensconvention.com and get your tickets for the event up in Augusta, Maine. What's the name of that event?
That's the Maine Paranormal and Horror Convention.
All right.
So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And we just started selling tickets on Sunday, and they're already starting to like really start rolling. Yeah.
Right. And that's the same thing. Like what happened down in Gettysburg.
Down in Louisiana.
Coming up from Louisiana, yeah. Gettysburg was being sold out. I mean, like that.
Right.
So, guys, great opportunity to get your tickets now to Augusta, Maine.
And of course, we got our two other ones, two other events.
Rock Island
Expo, and Scarefest in Kentucky.
So those are going to be huge events there at Rock Island and Scarefest.
Yep.
Scarefest, we're going to have our own floor. I mean, the whole museum's going to be set up there. So it's just not Annabelle. We have the whole Warren's Occult Museum there as well in Rock Island.
Right.
All right, guys. So we're going to bring on our guests, Travis Wallace and Tom Demko from Ghostly Images of Gettysburg. And Travis is from Black Lantern Paranormal.
Hi, guys.
Hey, guys. How you doing, Dan? Chris, good to see you.
Yeah,
thanks for having us, guys.
I hope I got the names right, guys.
Yeah, I think you botched mine up a little, but that's okay.
All right, pronounce your last name. Just to make sure that everybody knows.
Demko, Demko, or
did you say?
Tom from the orphanage works too. You can just say Tom from the orphanage.
Usually Tom.
I gave you an Italian name.
You know Tom.
I gave you an Italian name. There you go.
Oh, that's good. I like Italian.
It was my name. It must be a lot worse.
I'm half Italian. I'll take that. Demko's Czechoslovakian, even though it's got the O on the end of it. But
okay.
I like
so Tom,
yes,
how's it going down there with the excitement?
It's going. We're excited. Actually,
right. Never breaking Annabelle down there.
Check-in today is the time of this taping is June 11th, so we are 30 days out to Annabelle's arrival.
That's right. Yeah, we're a month away.
Coming up fast. It'll be here before we know it, and we're really excited. And the buzz around town is quite amazing, I'd say. I mean, people that you would least expect, they're all asking about Annabelle, and they're trying to see if I can sneak them in, and I say, no, I can't do that. Sorry, but
yeah, we've been getting a lot of messages too, and we have a waiting list for any cancellations, and we haven't had any cancellations. So
no, I wouldn't think so. But I know we were amazed.
Yeah,
we were amazed. You know, I mean, initially when you guys were traveling, I think we sold like 80 tickets to our 3-day event, and then once word got out that next stop is Gettysburg, we sell about 1,200 tickets in 2 days.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
no, it was insane.
Obviously, there's a great interest, and you know, we'll be ready. The orphanage will be ready, and Gettysburg is going to be a crazy. Right,
I know you guys wanted us to do another day down there. We would have loved to.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
It just doesn't. It just wasn't working out.
No, I think it's going to be 3 full days, no doubt about that. So I think we're going to be
3 full days nonstop.
We're going to be moving a lot of people through the orphanage to see Annabelle. So
it'll be good. We've got a system down, and you know, everybody's satisfied when they leave. Everybody gets their pictures, you know, and
they get to meet Annabelle.
They get to meet Annabelle. They get to meet, you know, ask us questions that they might have.
And Tony's coming down with us, Tony Spera. So
awesome.
Tony will be down, I believe, Saturday.
He's coming down Saturday.
Right. I don't know if he's going to do Sunday. We're going to find out if he's going to be there on Sunday as well. But yeah, Tony's coming with us.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, the whole weekend in Gettysburg is going to be a blast because, as you guys know, it's also the weekend of the annual Bike Week in Gettysburg, and we're bringing in Annabelle and about 20 to 30,000 bikers. So
yeah,
it's going to be
that'll be fun.
It's going to be a lot.
You know, a lot of people are traveling in probably from relatively far away.
Yes,
I would imagine, you know, if they were able to get, you know, somewhere to stay, a hotel and all that, they'll probably be looking for other stuff to do as well. Because, you know, this is, you know, probably an hour of their day, of their weekend.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why for anybody that's watching this that is coming to Gettysburg to see Annabelle, I mean, obviously, especially if you've never been here, please take time to check out the battlefields. There's 25 square miles of battlefield that you can take any means. You can drive your car, you can take a bus tour, you can see the battlefield by horseback. So definitely that should be on your list.
Are you serious? You could do it by horseback as well?
Yeah, horseback, horse-drawn carriage.
I've seen scooter tours. I've seen people jogging with, you know, babies on their backs and whatever else. Like, this is the battlefield in the national park does a really great job of making it super safe for tourists to come in and visitors to not only learn about history, but enjoy like the battlefield itself in the town of Gettysburg.
Right. And you have the covered bridge as well.
Yes, Sachs Covered Bridge we have outside of town. Don't miss that. It's a wonderful place to visit. Great for photographs at night. Great to explore for a paranormal.
Yeah, Sachs
Bridge
is one of the most haunted covered bridges in the world.
Yep.
Right, and walk the trails along the water there by the bridge. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Beautiful by day, spooky by night.
I had one of my very first experiences there back in, I think it was like 1993. And I've been investigating on the battlefield for the past 30 years. I'm a Gettysburg guy now. We'll never leave. Love the town.
How long have you been in Gettysburg for, Travis?
For 30 years. Yep. 30 years ago, I moved. Yep. 30 years ago, I moved to this town and an opportunity, and I fell in love with paranormal. I had an experience happen to me when I was a teenager. Was always curious, and I kind of used the battlefield and the town itself as sort of my experimental grounds. I'm a scientist. I'm actually now a science teacher. So I think of things in experimental design and ways to report on whatever we capture and how we can look at things that way. And so I had this entire sort of paranormal backyard for me that was easy to walk. We said 25 square miles that I could use any day of the week I wanted to, and got a lot of information. So I've gotten a lot of my experiences and a lot of good habits and maybe tricks of the trade over the years. And now I'm incorporated with these guys in the orphanage, Jennie Wade, and other places in town.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Black Lantern Paranormal, you guys do your own paranormal events down in Gettysburg where people can contact, book events for investigation tours.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll do our own private investigations. We have had probably at least 4 or 5, probably the past 6 months, private investigations where we went to clients' homes where they said, "Hey, we got something going on here. We don't know what's happening. Can you please come and investigate?" They reached out to us. You could find us on our Facebook page at Black Lantern Paranormal. We have on Instagram, and then also our own website, blacklanternparanormal.com. Reach out to us there, and we've gone locally. We've talked about expanding it out to go to Ohio, Maryland, New York, whatever, to investigate. But we do our own thing, and then we collaborate with the clients to find evidence, give them some answers if we can, and then otherwise we also work in town here with Ghostly Images.
Yeah, I mean, Black Lantern, they really have an excellent team, and we were fortunate to incorporate them. We do a midnight investigation tour that we just started doing last year, and I said, geez, let's talk to Black Lantern. And the fact they all live in Gettysburg and they are really exceptional. Travis is a scientist, another team member is a scientist. They do a serious investigation. They will debunk things, and we're happy that they're working with Ghostly Images. Sure.
So Travis, can you just give us a shout out of who are the members of Black Lantern?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, my name is Travis Wallace, and I've been doing this for 30 plus years. Like I said, I probably have the most experience and the most gray in my beard for the same exact reasons, right? I've been on the earth longer than the other guys. And we have I'm in a couple. My girlfriend is in the group. Her name's Angela DiNardo. And then we also have another couple. We have Lindsay and Nick Mitch, and they're a married couple, and they're on our team. And then our 5th member is a really prominent guy in town. His name is Jordan Barnhart. And he's our historian. He's kind of our safety guy. And he's the most, or maybe the most skeptical, I guess, of the group. So he's fantastic to have along when Nick and I are usually the two that will jump right into the fire when there's some experience happening. We want to eat it up as much as we can. And Jordan will rein us back and say, guys, let's take a look at this from another angle.
What are the other possibilities that this could have happened this way?
And we also, and then the fact that we have like a co-ed team, or the fact that we have ladies and gentlemen on the team, also provides a completely different perspective of what we're doing. We've been to places where there might be a child spirit. They may be more comfortable talking to the ladies than the guys. We've had other instances where maybe we went to one brewery, and actually the ghost that was there didn't like women, and we actually unfortunately used a couple of girls in the team as bait, and it worked in our favor. But it helps having a co-ed team. It really does.
Oh, so you go through female members quite often then?
Oh yeah,
because you as bait. Okay.
Yep.
You guys, it sounds like you guys got a great combination of people, and you guys work together well, and you guys been around for a while and work together. You guys, kind of bond pretty well, kind of like we do.
So what I want to know is, since we're doing this investigation, the first night we're down there with some of the items in the orphanage, what are the hauntings, the stories of the orphanage and Jennie Wade House where these VIP members that bought tickets are going to experience? What could they look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, I do tours in both buildings, and obviously I live in this building. We are on the 2nd floor of the orphanage, and behind me was actually the living space of Rosa Carmichael. Both buildings can be at any time very paranormally active. In my opinion, there's a different vibe in both buildings. The orphanage here has a very dark history of obviously a woman named Rosa Carmichael who tortured and abused children. So the history is very dark, where the Jennie Wade House, which is right across the street from the orphanage, I always feel like there's a more traumatic feel in that house of the sadness of the only civilian killed during the battle, the trauma the family endured. That house was in the crossfire of 2 armies on East Cemetery Hill, and the terror they must have faced, and then losing a loved one in the middle of the battle. So, the activity I mean, especially this time of year, from my experience, once we reach the month of June and into July, which is around the anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg, which was July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I always believe the activity ramps up during this time of year. And Travis and his team is in the house for these. I mean, on my tours, we've seen things happen. I mean, you're in an orphanage tour just a couple of days ago, a ball rolled right across the floor and hit the guest's feet. And we caught that on camera. It was quite interesting. And there's much more than that. And, you know, Travis, you know the houses. So
hear a little bit of that. I mean, I would like to hear more about, you know, the history of the orphanage. I mean, what kind of torture that these kids go
through? I mean, the orphanage, obviously, after the Civil War ends in 1865, and you had over 600,000 men lost their lives. So you have thousands and thousands of children without fathers. And buildings such as this orphanage became so important. This was one of the first ones to open after the Civil War to great fanfare. And the lead up to this orphanage is a connection of a soldier named Amos Humiston, who was mortally wounded in Gettysburg. And as he lay dying, he held a photograph of his 3 children. That picture would become circulated in all the major Northeast newspapers. And it was like the really big news in the country at the time, to find the family of Amos, because he didn't have any identification on him. And that would be the start of what would connect to the orphanage when it opened in 1866. And when the orphanage originally opened, things were going really great. The children were happy, they were well fed, well clothed, they're getting a good education. And the orphanage was actually visited by then General U.S. Grant, who would become president 2 years later. He stopped at the orphanage during a visit to Gettysburg. He had his picture taken with all the children. And the good times would last the first 3 years. But some of the matrons that worked here, there was turnover. And the founder of the orphanage was a doctor named John Francis Bournes. And he would bring in a new matron named Rosa Carmichael. And that's when everything changes. She comes in 1870. The children who had been happy are now miserable. They are terrified of this woman because she would torture them and punish them in all types of cruel ways.
What kind of torture? I mean, I know when I visited there, they were like shackled on the wall in the basement.
The very worst would be in the basement, which she would shackle children to the walls of the cellar. She'd place children in a barrel of cold water, tie their wrists to the side of the barrel. The children's legs would grow weary. They'd nearly drown had it been not the fact they're being held up by being tied to the barrel. Her cruelest punishment in the cellar is the confined space widely known as the pit. It's about 4 feet by 8 feet, and she would shackle children in there, tie them up, and they could be in there for hours, days, sometimes as long as a week.
I kind of call it like the earliest form of solitary confinement. It's literally like there's no light, there's nothing else.
No windows in that cellar.
You got any names? Have you got any EVPs of the names of the children there? Or
we've had responses. We've gotten all sorts of names. They're not always matching, but we got a lot of common names that would be around in 1880 or 1890 that you may be familiar with. We've gotten cries recorded as EVPs. We've had with our own ears heard other sounds of like creaking floorboards and movement and like scratching noises that were not made from the house settling or something else going on there. I had one EVP, which was really strange. A couple ladies went into one of our tours. They went into the pit by themselves, and I just put my EVP recorder, audio recorder, under the rock that sits outside, and I walked away. And I let the girls have their privacy and do their thing. And I listened to a playback with them, and you can hear a man's voice, and it says, "Shut the door." So their man was saying that, not a child was saying, "Shut the door."
Right.
We also have some video footage now that we have 24-hour cameras in the building, and you can see there's footage of it looks like some type of spirit. You see its head, shoulders, and legs a little bit, but see-through, moving across from one side going into the pit, but it's actually stepping up into the pit, which you would have to do. You'd actually see a leg coming up and going into the pit, which is pretty interesting. We've had there's modern plumbing and heating and cooling and things going through the building, right? HVAC.
Right.
And we try to cover a lot of that up. The Ghost Image has done a really great job of covering that up with a lot of curtains. So we're taking away that modern-esque thing, so keeping you where you should think we are, what we're doing. And we have on clear video, there's no one down the hallway near the pit, and they're part of the curtain is, oh yeah, my hands are here. Part of the curtain's kind of open, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just closes. And there's not a single person around, and it shuts with a lot of force. So we have a lot of activity down that basement.
Hopefully we'll be able to get some of that activity on the Friday night that we're up there. And it's very limited. We sold out pretty quick. We only had 24 tickets that we were allowed to sell for that. So hopefully those people will get to experience something like that.
Yeah, well, we'll Annabelle and
Annabelle will be
another
there.
object that we bring into that establishment is going to change the energy in there as well.
Right.
So, not too sure what is going to happen.
Well,
but,
I mean, it almost like all bets are off. I mean, you have a really active building.
It is. Everything we do is kind of experimental, as you guys know from doing this. You know, you never know what you're going to get.
Well, that's another thing I want to ask. Have you ever captured any residual energy in that location, that repeats itself? Because I find that interesting because, such history that's in that building. I mean, it used to be a field hospital as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. During the battle, it was a Union field hospital. It's documented. There were dead and dying soldiers in the building, and amputations took place, arms and legs stacked right outside the orphanage windows. I know just from my own tours, and I don't do all the ghost tours, in the last about a year, 3 people have seen a man inside one of our closets that has a glass door, and they best describe him always something with gray. So I'm thinking potentially a Confederate soldier might be.
And it wasn't you?
Well, wasn't me. No.
For the bar.
I'm only guilty being I live right above the dining room of the orphanage. I have original floors here, and they do creak. But believe it or not, there are times. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a school group, and I was off, and I saw.
You had a what?
We had a school group taking a tour of the orphanage. And I met our tour guide out in the parking lot. I wasn't working. And she said to me, I told the kids, we heard your footsteps walking in your apartment. We told them that you live up there. I said, well, there's only one problem. I wasn't home and I live alone. So, and I have actually given tours and heard footsteps coming from my apartment. So
has Rosa ever tried to communicate with you or visit you?
Well, in my 24 years of visiting and now living in Gettysburg, I've had 2 experiences where I believe I've seen apparitions. The most recent happened right in the room behind me here in my apartment. It was 4.5 years ago. I had only lived here for about 2.5 weeks. I was laying on my sofa taking an afternoon nap, and when I woke up, I picked my head up, and at the foot of my couch, I see a woman in a black Victorian dress. Her hair is up in a bun with a little hat, and she is staring at me. And my reaction is...
That would be Rosa, because that's what she...
Well, my living room was her actual living space right behind me. That's where she lived when she was the matron. And when this happened, I did what any brave man would do, Travis. I pulled the blanket over my head. I hid under the blanket, swear to God. And when I peeked out, she was gone. But I do think Rosa did pay me a visit. And many mediums come in this building and talk about the presence of Rosa. Obviously, children that are in this building. In the cellar, there is one particular child named Emily that likes to interact with guests. People get touched and pushed, poked, or fingers in their hair. Sometimes people recently in the orphanage and the room that Annabelle is going to be in, the furthest room back, and Black Lantern will probably say it's one of the most active rooms when they investigate.
And that's why I was asking about residual energy. I mean, especially that being a field hospital during the Civil War with pain, somebody getting their leg amputated, the screaming. that it would just leave that imprint on that property. That's why I was asking about that residual energy.
The feeling people get when they walk in the orphanage, especially leading to the cellar. I mean, some people won't go down there. They get overcome. How many people get tightness in their chest? They get out of breath, and a lot of people will turn around and say, "No, I can't do this," because you could just feel it. I mean, I live in the building. I've been here, but I feel it on every tour I give. I could feel that dark vibe. I get startled from things that happen to our guests. I've seen young people, and young people are very often more open-minded to the paranormal. I've actually seen young people in the cellar having a conversation with somebody that's not there. And you can tell it's genuine, and they're very serious about it, that they're talking to these children, because obviously the children like to interact with other children that are on our tours. So
Sure.
And there possibly is something even more nasty than, even if Miss Rose is considered the worst of the spirits that roam this place. Several mediums, and 3 in succession, who were in the cellar, who didn't know each other, were here at different months apart, describe something evil in that cellar, almost demonic, something that potentially has hooves, claws, and a tail. And when 3 people in a row tell you that, and there's no connection, you start to wonder what might be.
Well, usually that's usually what happens if there's an earthbound spirit that's trapped in that realm. There's usually something more demonic or evil there as well that's trying to hold that spirit from moving on. Right. So they will call that one that sees over all the other spirits in there.
And when people that do come to town, I mean, battlefields are so active. I mean, and there's activity during the day. It doesn't mean because it's daylight out that there isn't paranormal going on. So
one of the very first full body apparition I ever saw in my entire life, I was about 22 years old, and I was just dating a girlfriend, and just got to know her, and she wanted to take a walk in the battlefield. I'm like, sure. And it was a Sunday afternoon around 3 p.m. and she didn't know I was doing paranormal things. I didn't want to tell her because I just started dating her. I didn't want to, embarrass myself.
Sometimes you got to ease them into that kind of.
And so she and I are walking. It's Warren Avenue. It goes from the gully between Little and Big Round Top and heads down to Devil's Den to the battlefield. And it's a super popular area, and it was a beautiful day. It's like 3 p.m. like on a Sunday, and we're walking down through there. And well, you see reenactors in town, and we see them often. They'll spend thousands of dollars on their uniform and their shoes and their hat and whatever glasses they have, but all of it looks clean. All of it looks very polished and clean, and because it's very expensive, they want to keep it that way. Well, of course, in 1863, you wouldn't have looked clean. You'd be very dirty and raggedy, and maybe borrowed your pants from one dead soldier, you borrowed your jacket from another dead soldier, and you're mismatched and kind of filthy. Well, we were walking down Warren Avenue, and I see these 4 reenactors, and they look terrible. And I thought, this is beautiful. They're actually doing it the way you would see somebody in 1863. Right. Raggedy, shoes raggedy. And, I thought it's great. And we're talking about that. And we're walking down the hill, and maybe about 2 minutes later, and they're back maybe like 30 yards in front of us. And they're marching shoulder to shoulder. About 2 minutes later, I look again, talking to her, look up, and these men are gone. And they were solid too. Like, I didn't see through them. I thought they were real people. So I don't say a word. I'm a little shocked, but I don't want to say a word again. I don't want to embarrass myself. And she stops the conversation. She looks at me and says, "Where did those 3 men go?" And so she saw 3, I saw 4. And we were close enough to see if a group of 4 grown men had ducked and covered or ran away, you'd see them or hear them. Like, there wasn't a place for them to hide, right? And that was broad daylight. So I tell people all the time when I do, paranormal investigations, it doesn't have to be a nighttime thing. That's fun, and there is that witching hour and things like that are wonderful. But things happen here during broad daylight.
Yeah.
So.
Most battles are happening during the day. I mean,
I think it's interesting that you guys saw different things. She saw 3 people and you saw 4. That's that's weird. I mean, you guys both definitely saw something.
And that was one of the bloodiest battles during the Civil War, was Gettysburg.
Oh yeah,
50,000 casualties over 3 days.
And what is it with Gettysburg? Because I heard about the Native Americans as well as them. Native Americans had a bloody battle on that land as well. So is there, have you guys witnessed any activity of Native American hauntings or anything? I mean, because like I said, I mean, there was a battle with the Native Americans on that land.
The only time I've ever really had anything that resembles that is there's a place around here, locals called Suicide Bridge. And it's actually an Eisenhower bridge. When the Eisenhowers were here, Dwight bought farms for the two boys, and this one bridge is named after one of the sons. And you can't drive over the bridge anymore. It's, got poles in front of it. It's a walking bridge, and it literally leads on a path back to Stack's Covered Bridge. And when Black Lantern cut our teeth as a team, we were going there to do just investigations and experiments. And many times we would encounter things that didn't seem human-like. First of all, we get animal sorts of things or other things going on. And we also had like human spirits that also didn't seem like they're from the Civil War. And I don't know if that could have anything to do with Native American spiritual things, but it's an odd area. It feels different when you come to these areas and you're into the Civil War, you're into that type of the romantic part of battle, right? People think about that.
Right.
You do have a feeling there of there's pride and there's a lot of energy and there's a lot of like mission. I have a goal of what I'm trying to do. That feels different than when we go out to the Suicide Bridge, where it feels something is off and weird and doesn't necessarily like us. And again, I don't know if that's a Native American thing or not, but that's the only spot I've ever felt anything like that.
I did one night. I mean, my ghost hunting was always pretty simple, usually looking for EVPs and capturing things in photographs. And many years ago, when I would visit from Jersey, one night I captured an EVP, and it was a chant, and the word was Wahi. It was very clear, loud like that. And I said, I don't know what that is. And I looked it up, and that is some type of Indian word. Okay. I forget what it means. So that was one thing. Plus, even Devil's Den, which is a very popular tourist spot on the battlefield with amazing boulders, and everyone should see Devil's Den. But I believe the name Devil's Den, doesn't it refer back to the Indian times, that there was a snake in those rocks?
To do with a snake.
I bet you something like that would attract the Native Americans. All those big boulders right there, I'm sure would have some type of attraction to.
We'll hold that energy as well. I remember going to Devil's Den, and I remember I could visually see soldiers laying by the trees in pain over there. And then we had an experience on the Suicide Bridge.
Okay.
Chris and I were there, and we were with another group, and this was around 2:30 in the morning, and pitch dark. And we heard about the stories about a kid committed suicide over there and everything. I don't know if that's true or not. But the weird thing about it was there was an old man. He had to be around maybe early 80s, late 70s, riding on a 1950s bicycle. And he comes across, then he comes to the bridge, and he asked us what we were doing there. And we told him about the stories. He might be living around there somewhere, but it was just weird. So
came out of nowhere.
He just came out of nowhere.
We know of that gentleman, Travis. You know his name, Bill.
Yeah, we think that was his nephew that died. And then before we knew it, we're watching him going down the path, and all of a sudden, poof, he disappears. And it was like, okay, either he lives right around the corner, or we just saw a ghost on a bike.
Well, we think that's a real person named Bill who owns property around that bridge, and he is supposedly very friendly, and he might show up at 3 a.m. on his old bicycle and start talking to you. I have seen people or read on Facebook people saying, I talked to this guy. Was he real? He said, yeah, that's just Bill. He won't hurt you. But I don't know. If I was at that bridge at 3 a.m. and an old guy on a 1950s bicycle showed up, I'd be a little scared.
There was a group of about 15 of us.
Right.
And just kind of.
He stopped us in our tracks. I mean, we weren't expecting that. It was like,
no.
What the?
I think we even asked for a sign or something.
Yeah, and then he shows up.
He rolls up on his bike.
Wow.
No noise, right? Just kind of rolls up right behind us.
Well, maybe, who knows? Could he? Maybe he's not a real person. I don't know. I've never met him.
I don't know. I thought it was weird that happened, but
that's another place. I mean, if people are coming out.
Yes,
And,
Suicide Bridge is within walking distance of the Sachs Bridge. A lot of people don't know it because it's nestled in the woods a little bit. But
yeah,
do your research.
Depending on how high the water is, you could probably walk it from Sachs Bridge, but I know that water, when it gets pretty high, it's hard to walk.
There is a roadway. There's a road that you can take to walk.
It's closed, right? It's a closed road.
It says closed, but you can walk through.
Yeah, no, I'm talking along the pathway along the water there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of legends around Sachs Bridge, from a witch's tree that if you touch this particular tree, a woman.
Suicide tree as well, I believe, right?
There's definitely a tree there, and that Suicide had for the longest time too. One of the weirdest things I'd ever saw and scared the Jesus out of me. They had a porcelain doll beneath the bridge that was completely untouched. You could see where the water had come up to like the rocks and had come up on the bridge when the water come through there and higher with rain. This doll was completely untouched. Dress is perfect. Everything's perfect in this creepy doll. And so our team investigated, and we kind of made a mistake and posted something about it. And shortly after that, the porcelain doll disappeared. So I don't know what the deal was with the porcelain doll, but
I've gotten a voice on that bridge of a little girl. There was a team down at the other end. They were investigating. I was there. This was during the day too. I was there with friends, and my wife's friend had her digital recorder running. I didn't even know she had it running. And we're just talking, sitting there, and we see these people on the other side of the bridge. I mean, we're not paying no mind that the digital recorder is running. So we go back later on that day, and we listen to the recorder, and you hear a little girl saying, "Mommy and Daddy don't like what they're doing."
Wow.
And then when her son was running down the pathway along the water there beside the bridge, you hear a little girl saying, "Why is he running? Why is he running?" So for you tell me that story that you found like a porcelain doll underneath that bridge, kind of like confirms that, this girl was really there, and she was communicating with us.
And we didn't know at first the doll was down there. We would walk across the bridge above it, and we'd always get like EMF spikes or K2 spikes every single time. I'm like, what is going on? And of course, the doll shouldn't be doing that, but it was bizarre. And I was like, let's go look underneath. We see the porcelain doll, so it clearly ties along with what you were just saying.
Right. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool, guys. There's a lot of history down in Gettysburg. I love the battle history there, because it formed our country. Right. And a lot of people, it's just not about ghosts and goblins and whatever. That's American history there.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what we need to respect. There's a lot of soldiers from both sides that died in that battle. All right. Young kids. All right. The Confederate, by the time they made it up north to PA, they were depleted. Regiment. Half of them had frostbite on their feet. Their clothes were torn. They didn't have shoes. So it was, it took a lot of heart.
It was July, so I don't think they had.
Coming from the winter, they came out of battle from the winter down south, and they came up north. And they had some harsh winters. And people got to respect that.
There's an energy here, and that's what lured me here. My first visit was 22 years ago, only because my brother moved here, and I visit just about every major city in the country, but Gettysburg has something that lured me back time and time again, and that's why I wind up moving here. And you just feel something on the ground, the battlefields, hollow Absolutely. Ground. You feel something here you don't feel other places. And the aftermath of the battle here. Obviously there was a great loss of life, a lot of casualties. You had 4,000 horses and mules.
Right. People don't think about the animals.
The aftermath of the battle in this town was beyond the most horrific thing you could imagine. With the smell, you could smell Gettysburg from as far away as Baltimore and Harrisburg, which was an hour away, and the suffering that the civilians, not only what they experienced during the fighting, most of them were hidden down in their basements or wondering how is this going to end? And most people know that Jennie Wade was the lone civilian killed in obviously what's called the Jennie Wade House, but dozens of civilians during the aftermath died of disease. I mean, the water supply.
What about suicides?
I'm sure
there had to be a few.
All that. There must have been suicides as well.
I mean, a lot of children
after what they witnessed.
When the armies leave, they left behind a lot of carnage, and children would roam out into the battlefields treasure hunting, and they'd pick up live artillery shells that would burst and they'd be killed instantly. They just renovated Little Round Top a couple of years ago, and they found live artillery shells to this day on Little Round Top. And, just the underground, there's still thousands of bodies that were never recovered.
Correct.
And the last remains found in Gettysburg was 1996. They found the remains of a Confederate soldier.
So they took all those trees down on Little Round Top, going down the hill?
A lot of them. Yeah, on the front side. The triangular field, you probably heard about that before. One of the sides of the triangle's completely been wiped out. They took all the trees out.
The cool thing about Round Top now is you can actually walk on the face of Little Round Top where you couldn't before, because they made walking trails. So folks that are coming for that weekend that haven't been to Round Top recently should check it out. So you can walk and see monuments that you weren't able to see before because
we should try to check that out.
Yeah, we're gonna
maybe some.
Dan and Chris, would it be okay if we swap out and have like someone else from Black Lantern join the discussion?
No, that's fine. Yeah. Who's going to be joining us?
Who's coming in? So I guess Nick is here. We got Nick. How'd you get in here without making any noise?
You didn't know what state behind me?
There's Nick Mitch.
There
How's
it
it
is.
going, guys?
What's going on, Nick?
How are
Hold
you?
on, I'm gonna get your name here. Go ahead. You guys can start talking.
So we were talking about, all the hauntings down in Gettysburg, the orphanage, Jennie Wade House, the battlefields, you name it. I mean, the history of Gettysburg.
Yeah.
But what was your experience down in Gettysburg, and what got you started in the paranormal?
Me personally?
Yeah, you.
Yeah. So I came here. When I was 12 on it was just like a regular family vacation kind of thing that none of us had been here. And so we came to town, we did the normal history stuff, and at night we signed up for, one of the ghost tours. It's still here in town. And at that time I wasn't really like a believer in any of it. I was just kind of, my parents wanted to go, my brother wanted to go, let's go along. And we went out, we went out, we did the Reynolds Death House, and then there was a little field behind a Liberty gas station down here on Steinwire that after the battle, like most properties were used as a field hospital. And they're given the whole spiel and everything. And I'm half paying attention, again, I'm 12, 13 years old. But I remember the tour guide saying, take pictures. So I'm going to take pictures. So snap as many as I can. And right towards the end of this tour, I'm like, let me just go back and check. And there's a full body apparition of a Confederate soldier standing next to a tree. From that moment on, I was completely hooked. Gettysburg became an infatuation. Anytime I would want to go on vacation or anything like that, it'd be Gettysburg. The paranormal became a passion from that moment. And then obviously different investigations I've done since then and kind of built off of that. But it was a lone picture that I took here as a non-believer that then turned me around into a avid fanatic of the paranormal that then brought me here and drug my wife.
Yes,
This is Lindsay, right?
And they were just married less than a year ago.
Yes, so Lindsay's also a member of Black Lantern.
Right.
Say hi,
So,
Lindsay.
hi, Linz. So, Nick, was there anything that happened to you that changed your outlook? I mean, something that, stuck with you on what you experienced. I know you said the murder house. What was that all about?
So it was the Reynolds Death House. So when General Reynolds got shot during the first day, was brought back through town, and there's it's a little photo shop now, and it's still there. They brought his body back there to hopefully tend to his wounds, and he had passed away by the time he reached the house. He stayed there through the rest of the battle, but he passed on his way, right? I believe. Yeah. So they brought his body there. So that was one of the places that this particular tour company had access to. So we went in, and I didn't really have any experiences outside of just having that photo. And then from there, I'll be honest with you, started to pick up on the different things that I had around at my parents' house. I have 2 older brothers, and they had always talked about stuff that, some things happen here and there, and I never really grabbed onto it. It wasn't something I really paid attention to. Well, after that photo, I noticed it pretty quickly. So it really only took a photo. And then from there, just kind of a domino effect of different paranormal experiences that I've had throughout my life.
Right.
Again, a lot of them happening here in town. Coming to town, you're hearing cannon fire in the middle of winter at 3 o'clock in the morning. Walking around town or sitting out on a bench and hearing footsteps walk by you, and there's nobody outside. Different disembodied voices and things like that. It just kind of snowballed, and it just kind of all stemmed from this town.
Probably the most interesting. I've had 2 sightings, and the first one was when I first started visiting over 20 years ago, and the battlefields used to be open till 10 o'clock at night. You could go out there in pitch darkness. It was an unbelievable experience. Yeah. Now you can't. And this one particular night, it was 10:15 at night, and I was with my sister. I said, we need to get out of here because we don't want to get a summons. Yeah. It was a very foggy night, and I'm driving on the summit of Little Round Top, and we both see marching out of a fog bank at least a dozen soldiers dressed in full Union uniforms, carrying muskets, and they're marching in formation. And I looked at their faces. There was nothing there, pale, white, and we said, did you see that? And there was no explanation for that. Who would be marching on Little Round Top after hours? And
didn't you wish you had a camera just recording that?
I wish I would have just stopped the car and ran out, but it happened so fast. Driving down the hill by then, and we're like looking at each other like, what did we just see?
Yeah, because I've seen some of these famous videos of Gettysburg and the battlefield, soldiers crossing the road. Somebody's driving down them with in a car. Right, that
famous one where they're walking into the woods or out of the woodline.
Or I think they came behind one of the cannons or something like that.
That one. If you spend enough time here in town, I mean, obviously, you never can guarantee a paranormal experience, but I mean, if you spend enough time here in town,
when you least expect it, something may happen. A lot of people, they come the first time, they think they're going to see a ghost right away. Well, 24 years, I've had 2, so it doesn't happen.
Well, we're lucky. The weekend that we're going, Nick's going to help us out, and his team, Black Lantern Paranormal, they're going to help us out.
Okay.
The investigation on Friday night.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
So I'm looking forward to working with Nick as well. And
Nick, we're going to talk to you more about that off camera. Just get some more insight in how we're going to structure this and how we're going to do this.
We just really wanted to thank you guys too for giving us this opportunity. It's really huge for us, and to work with you guys, we're really, really excited. And we really are honored that you're, having it here in Gettysburg and having us tag along with you. So we just really appreciate that.
We're excited too, because you guys know, who better than you guys, Tom and Chris and Nick. We became kind of friendly last year when we came down from Paracon, and Nick was great to us.
Yeah, Nick. And Lindsay, tell me a little bit more about yourself too. We got you on here. So I want a little bit about you.
How did you get dragged into this?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a really old house. It was built in 1890. So I grew up with things wanting attention forever. I'm sorry?
Was that in Gettysburg or?
No, I grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So like the Poconos, but not really the Poconos, outside Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area.
Okay.
And so I was always pretty sensitive to things and, always into talking with psychics, mediums, trying to figure more out. Very sensitive myself. Then I met Nick at a concert, and I had never been to Gettysburg, and he brought me here. And But while we left, I cried leaving this town because I just did not want to leave. The feeling I had in this town was so unexplainable. It just had this pull on me. It was so incredible. And I said, Nick, this is where we belong, you know? So we wound up being able to move here and being able to do all these amazing things and get married here. And now we're on our new adventure, and it's just really neat. So, yeah.
Now, speaking of getting married, for those folks that maybe have never been to the Jennie Wade House and may get the chance, or even just take a history tour or a ghost tour, there is a legend of one of the bullet holes on one of the interior doors, the actual bullet hole of the shot that would kill Jennie. And the legend is, if an unmarried woman places her ring finger in that bullet hole within 1 year, she will receive a marriage proposal. Now, it may not be from the person you're hoping to get it from, but just on my own tours within the last year, it's 6 couples it has worked for. And one was just recent. We posted on our Facebook page. A woman she was on my tour, and it was in April. And she didn't know the legend. And when I said it, she says, "Oh, I'm in." She ran to that bullet hole and stick her finger in there. And her now fiance is named Ethan. And they took a beautiful picture of their engagement ring. So, and people have gotten married.
$45.95, you could get married at the orphanage.
Yeah, exactly. If we can bring an ordained minister, so we can do it right on the spot, or whatever you.
And Nick, you're a musician. Maybe you could even play the guitar and sing.
Lindsay,
the guy he's the music entertainment. Nick's a great singer. Mitch Music.
I know, I've seen it.
So, Lindsay, I got a question for you.
What's up,
Lindsay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lindsay, did you have an imaginary friend when you were growing up?
Not so much an imaginary friend, but I had my buggy.
What was that?
Like a caterpillar.
Okay.
Stuffed animal, and he did everything with me. I still have him.
All right, I was getting that off you. There was something that you were really close to as a kid.
I got an imaginary friend right now, but I'm not going to talk about it here.
Where you're living.
So I don't know. Maybe we'll bring in our other 2 guests, but I just want to say, like, when folks come to town, I mean, take advantage of everything Gettysburg has. In addition to seeing Annabelle, we have a lot of great restaurants. If you are coming and you want to stay overnight, you should book your hotel now, because it is a very busy weekend. At Ghostly Images, we have ghost tours that you can take. Now, Friday night, because of the event with you guys and the investigation, the only tour we have is a haunted bus tour, which is really awesome. We talked about Sachs Bridge, and that bus does stop at Sachs Bridge. But on Saturday night, we got a whole host of ghost tours, and Sunday. I looked today, there are still tickets available, but once folks get into town, they will all sell out. So if you're planning to come, you can go on.
Yeah. When we get there Thursday, I want to do a tour on that bus.
Yep.
We'll bring the movie doll Annabelle with us, and we'll be at the top tier of that bus with the movie doll.
Double decker. Yeah, you can also. We have an iconic double decker battlefield bus tour through our Gettysburg Tour Center, which is part of Ghostly Images as well. That is really an awesome way to experience the battlefield. So
yeah, I was going to say regular tours as well.
Yeah, we have our regular tours on Saturday night, Sunday, the haunted bus on Friday.
And where do you get the tickets for that?
Best way is to get them online, ghoslyimages.net. You can purchase. I would recommend purchasing them in advance, because they will all sell out that weekend for sure. So,
I'm sure.
And also to take advantage, the museums. We have a great visitor center, a relatively new, beautiful, modern Civil War museum, and there's other museums in town. So, want everybody to obviously enjoy the paranormal part of things, but to enjoy and appreciate history and the fine restaurants. I know in our neck of town, and we're actually, the orphanage is right next door to the National Cemetery. So
yeah,
folks should make it
the
a
National
point.
Cemetery is pretty awesome.
Where Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address, you can see the approximate spot where he delivered the address. I mean, it's obviously a very solemn experience walking the cemetery.
I mean, and you got to understand, when Lincoln gave that address, the bodies that were in front of them were only covered with dirt.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they were very.
I mean, it took over 10 years just to move the Confederate dead, you know, because most of them were buried in Southern cemeteries. Initially at the National Cemetery, they buried 3,500 Union
Right.
soldiers.
So the families came up and claimed the bodies, right?
Yeah, a lot of it, but it took some time, you know, because the National Cemetery is a Union cemetery, so the Confederates were not, there were so many temporary burial grounds, and those graves were buried. Those graves were 6 inches to a foot deep, and
Right.
it was the horrific scenes of body, arms, and legs protruding through the ground, and the horrific smell of death, and the aftermath of the battle was beyond your worst imagination of what you would think it would be. Horrific.
So guys, go ahead. You got anything else you want to add?
We'll get is Jordan and Angela in the green room. We have a green room here in my apartment. We're gonna let them stay high for a couple minutes, and
okay.
I'll give up my seat here.
Hey guys.
Hello.
So who do we have here?
I'm Jordan. This is Angela. And Angela is what Travis.
What's your last name, guys?
And I am the fifth wheel of this whole group.
Jordan, what's your last name?
And then there's me.
Jordan, what's your last name?
Barnhart.
Oh, you're the skeptic.
Yes. My father is an ordained minister. So never grew up with any of this in my life. Did not even think about any of it until I got here to Gettysburg. I actually met Angela here and Travis through a local trivia night that they were running, and they're like, "Hey, we go to this little ghost hunting thing. You want to come with us?" And I'm like, "I've got nothing else to do. Let's go see what that's all about." And I've enjoyed it ever since. Being the safety guy here on the team, there was an instance we were third floor of the Apollo Theater in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and we're up there and we're all sitting in a line, and we're doing an EVP session, something where we're just kind of all paying attention, trying to be, super quiet. Let's see what we can hear. And then from our right, we hear something audible, not through a machine or anything, and it sounds like somebody walking right in front of us. Then there comes that walking sensation. Sounds like a lady in heels.
Yeah, high heels.
High heels. Everybody knows that sound on a wooden floor.
Right.
And then the next thing I hear is right behind us. There's another sound coming from right behind us. Now I know our exit is to the left. I've heard something in front of me. I've heard something to the right of me. I've heard something from behind me. The next thing that's going to come is to the left, and that's our exit. And that's when I look at these guys and I'm like, we need to go, and we need to go now. We're not in a safe place anymore. We've got to go. And they're all into it deep and like, what? We got to go. I'm like, we've got to go.
Right.
And, it becomes, one of those things where it's like, I feel like I'm getting surrounded. I don't want to get surrounded up here in a place where I'm not comfortable. So let's hightail until they regroup and see exactly what we're saying.
Is that because you felt something evil there or something bad, or is it that your faith that you have, that knowing that this possibly could do something to you guys?
So it's a combination of both. I'm the one in the group with I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years. I've had military training. When you start to feel that you're there are some alarm bells that start going off of I'm about to get surrounded. That's never a good proposition here. And yes, that bad feeling best thing you say, it's a bad feeling that I'm about to be in a position I don't want to be in. And
right.
let's exit and regroup and get calmed down and get everything back together again, and then we'll go.
So when Jordan started to feel that, I followed him downstairs, and I was like feeling similar sort of energy, and we were packing up ready to go. Meanwhile, Nick and Travis are going full steam ahead in this room, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go after this ghost. We're going to figure out what's going on. So those two are definitely hands down the most daring members, I'd say, of our team. They don't care if something bad happens to them. They're definitely diehards. Whereas
Why Jordan in the back, let's plan this out, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Jordan's not going to mess around, you know, and that's one of the reasons we really value that in him, because he's here to protect us and assess the scene, make sure everything's okay.
It's good.
So it's good to have a nice balance in the team. Everybody has a really important role they play, and really interact well together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what Chris is to our team as well. He's the one that will look out for us. We call Chris a skeptic on the team. Chris will look at other possibilities, how things could have happened, or, you know, it wasn't something that was, you know, haunting the place, that what we heard. So it's good to have him. And he's had experiences, you know, he's heard and seen things, but
yeah, when I see it, I believe it.
He's got to see it to believe it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. There are things that I have seen where I'm sorry, I don't have an explanation for it. If I did have an explanation for it, I would speak up and say, you know, we're here in Gettysburg, and you know, people hear a sharp sound and they're like, was that a gunshot? Nope, it's not what a gunshot sounds like. Sorry to tell you.
Yeah.
Nope. That was a 2x4 that fell down. You know, like different sound.
Yeah.
Or
you know, I'm first to point that out. But yeah, there are some things that I have seen where I just I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. It also helps a lot during evidence review, because admittedly we've gotten in some heated arguments over whether or not something's real, because the way that our team works is we don't accept anything that we don't agree on. You know, at least the majority has to agree that something's real. We want to make sure it's valid, it's logical.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the only thing is you got to know what your environment is. How many people were in that room? Whose voice could that have been?
Exactly.
You know. So,
yep.
Yeah. I
always love to have Jordan, because he'll be the final. You know, let's see what Jordan thinks. You know, if Jordan says it's real, it must be real. You know.
We have arguments all the time.
Right.
You know, me, Dan, and Wade constantly. Wade's not here tonight, but we constantly have arguments over evidence and what is and what isn't an orb.
Yeah, I mean, we got to,
that.
and it's true what Chris is saying. You got to be careful what you present. You know, you want to present something that we can't explain. You know, but if we have to argue about it, then there's a percentage there that possibly that was something that was created by someone in that room.
I don't like throwing anything out there where people are going to go, well, that's not enough for me anyway. So.
Right. I listen. I've heard stomach growls that sound like spirits on a recorder.
Oh, that's happened to us too, because we'll play back in EVP and we'll be like, wait, was that your stomach?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
And this is, you know, this is part of like us growing as a group also. I'm number one. I'm the one that do it. I do it all the time. We're doing an EVP session, and I look over at her and I go, hey, did you? And I'm talking in a whisper.
Don't whisper.
You can't whisper when you're doing these things.
What's the rule? Not to whisper, but when everybody talks, when you're doing any of these,
That's
the first
me.
thing you
I did it.
whisper. You know, and I always tell people don't whisper. And I'm usually the one doing it.
Yeah.
Yep. I know,
Yeah. I'm the number one guy that does that one.
But Chris is learning.
I'll figure it out.
He's learning.
20 years.
When we go after each other, he'll leave the room now.
Yeah, right.
You know.
So, I mean, one of the things, you know, people come here to the battle or come here to Gettysburg, and one of the most popular questions that I've gotten around town is, where's the battlefield? And I just look and I go, yes.
You're standing on it.
Yes, the entire town is the battlefield.
Right.
You know, after the battle, it became the job of the Gettysburg citizen to bury any body that was within the city limits. That turned out to be about 1,400 bodies. They sent a bill down to Washington, D.C. to pay us. You told us we couldn't work, you know, cough it up. And Washington never paid us. And that's when we tore up all the paperwork, including the maps of where all the bodies were. To this, you know, like you said, 1994, last one that came on Earth, the railroad cut west of town.
I didn't know that.
I mean, yeah, and that's, quite frankly, a lot of Confederate soldiers may have ended up in what I like to call ye old family garden, dancing a jig on top of that grave. Pops, that tomato plant's gonna grow real tall.
You know of a location that there's where there's a couple Confederate soldiers that are buried. Right outside. It's not actually. It's the outer limits of Gettysburg, right?
No, it's in Gettysburg.
It's in Gettysburg, but it's more of the outer limits.
It's on the outskirts.
Outskirts.
But it's Gettysburg.
Right. It was part of the battlefield. It actually was a Confederate camp.
Camp.
Yeah,
I think it was a camp.
It was a camp, right? Where they buried a couple soldiers on that camp.
But yeah, I mean, the whole mystery of everything and the not knowing and the obviously the power of the unknown is very high here in Gettysburg. The possibilities that you may run into something very high here. Much more so than other historical places I've ever been to.
If you're gonna go out somewhere, and your best possibility of getting some type of evidence or personal experience, Gettysburg would probably be one of the top places, if not the top places, because you could be going out to dinner, and, or you're just going to roll through the battlefields during the day, because you're going to go maybe do a tour at night or an investigation at night, and you might have an experience during the day when you're not even expecting
and
it.
people they have to understand, it's just not that you're going to get evidence from a Civil War soldier or a Native American. I mean, that ground is quartz ground. All right. There's a certain energy to that land where it's just picking up energy and trapping energy through time. You could, like I said, your experience down there, you pretty much don't know where it's going to be coming from.
Yep.
I mean, and it's just fact.
And come here with an open mind. Come here with an open mind. The people who are, I'm not convinced until I see an actual ghost walk in front of me. I'm sorry, you're probably not going to have a good time here. Good possibility you'll come out of it feeling disappointed. Come here with an open mind. Be ready to accept, anything that may come along. Feelings, touches on the back of the neck, things all that. We get these things all the time. I had a on my phone, LiDAR with a SLS, and a lady was like, we're in the basement of the Jennie Wade House, and she's like, there's something touching my ear right now. And I just hold it right up there, and you see the big, the big person, that's on there. And then on there, you see a little person right there on her ear the entire time. And she's like, it's touching me right now. It's touching me right now. And I'm like, yes, I know. I see it. It's right there right now, but
it wasn't like you had that, you caught it first on yours, and then you put it in her head that there was a little person there. You know what I mean? She felt it first, and then you put it in. If it was the other way around, like that's probably
confirmation bias. Leading questions. Scientists doesn't like them, so we try to avoid them. They keep us honest on those kind of things.
So with the quartz in the ground, are there any ley lines that run through Gettysburg?
Where's the scientist?
Yeah, where's the scientist? I want any answers.
What do you mean by ley lines exactly?
Ley lines are, magnetic lines that run throughout the world. I mean, you have ley lines that are coming from Europe that come straight through to the United States. A lot of them,
a lot of them are tied to like Stonehenge, stuff like that, and maybe the pyramids. And these lines.
Not that we've read about, have evidence of. Nothing of that nature. That's
that'd be pretty amazing.
That we know
about them.
I want to look further because, like I said, there's so much energy in that area. I want to see if there are ley lines that run through there as well. So that could answer a lot of our questions. And I've heard that people have experienced UFOs over there as well. I don't know if you guys ever experienced anything like that, but I've heard stories about that.
So we
have
Yeah, go
sort
ahead.
of. But
Yeah.
you probably saw more of it. Did you guys talk about the Eisenhower Bridge?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we
they-
discussed that earlier, but that's where we all kind of got started, was the Eisenhower
Yeah,
Bridge,
yeah.
which is also called the
Right.
Suicide Bridge. And there's been several times that we've gone there around sunset and we've seen definitely in some sort of UFO type thing in the sky, and it looks orange, and its pattern is strange. It doesn't look like an aircraft or anything like that. And of course we went to Jordan because we were like, Jordan, does this make any sense from your perspective? Is this anything that you would have encountered in your
Was it a satellite, or was it
the light was too large for being a satellite. Satellite would look a lot like a star moving through the sky. This had a much more pronounced volume of light to it, and it was moving along the horizon, but then would rise up above the horizon. It would drop down. It would continue. It would move back and forth, going left to right. And I'm like, unless there is a guy with a helicopter with his front light on doing right, left, climb, descend, and he happens to be staring right at us right now, there's no other explanation for it.
Right.
And that's happened at least 2 or 3 times, the same location at Eisenhower Bridge, around the same time. So
Yeah, I mean, guys, and I'm saying that possibilities, you never know what's going to happen down in Gettysburg, So hey, can we have the rest of the team come in and then stand behind you?
I just want to close with them.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah.
What do you got there, Tom? Get everybody in there.
Just somebody knows this is not the real Annabelle. We've used her in a few promo shots, and people say, why did you take her out of her case? This is not the real Annabelle. We're just getting the orphanage a little prepared for when she does come. But the one thing I want to say, I know myself and Christina, who's not here tonight, she's under the weather, but I mean, you guys
tell her we were asking about her and we missed her.
I mean, Christina is an awesome lady. I mean, she's the leader of everything we do here. Everybody in the paranormal community knows her, respects her. Obviously, we get a lot of the biggest paranormal teams from all over the world come here. So I just want to let Christina know that even though you're not here tonight, we're thinking of you. But even more than that,
we love Christina. From day one, when we met, we knew that she was a good person, and that we wanted to continue working with you guys.
Yeah.
So
and even from
same thing for you.
And my perspective, obviously, we met you guys last year before the Paracon in Gettysburg, and you, Dan, and Chris, and Wade, who we love. I mean, there's no nicer man that I've met in the paranormal than Wade, and obviously, I'm happy to hear Tony's coming, but I know what you're doing now with Annabelle, going on the Devil on the Run tour, that, I think the vast majority of people are really excited. There is people, obviously, that want to see her and learn about her and the history part of it and the things that have happened. And I know you guys take some heat as well. And there's a lot of mistruths that, because obviously she's coming here, we've read some of the mistruths, the misconceptions. So I just want to say that you guys are top notch. We respect you from the first time we met you last year. We know the precautions you take, the pride of keeping Ed and Lorraine's legacy alive. So,
that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Like those small percentage of haters out there, hey, you don't want to see Annabelle? Don't come, or you come to Gettysburg, go to the museums.
We're not worried about them. The thing is, as long as we keep spreading that message, like Ed and Lorraine has started this. I mean, the museum closed to the public due to zoning issues. So what are we going to do? We're just going to lock these items in the museum, and they're never to be seen again. So this is one of the things that we're doing. We're bringing the museum out to the public. We're bringing these items to locations across the country that don't have the opportunity to come up to the Northeast, to view these items. So we're taking it to them. And we're, spreading that message and still telling the same stories, right? About devils, demons, and God. And we'll tell people, how you should investigate and what you shouldn't be doing. So, it's the same thing that Ed and Lorraine has started. And we're still continuing it.
For sure.
Like I mentioned to someone online or on my Facebook, people that think they're experts and have their own opinion. And I say, well, when you can make an appearance and sell 1,200 tickets in 2 days, then I'll be more apt to listen to you. Otherwise, thanks for your opinion, but your opinion is not in stone by any means.
Listen, there's no experts. There are no experts. There are no experts in this field.
There are no experts.
We all have theories. It's just if that theory makes sense, we go with it. I mean, a lot of it is logical, right? And our belief in God hasn't changed. So, and that's how we investigate, and we're not going to change for anybody.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So anyway,
guys,
from the orphanage.
Thanks for coming on.
Miss Rosa is waiting to find the real one here. We'll see what happens. But
yeah, guys, it's going to be interesting. Like I said,
it's going to be a really fun
different environment, bringing these artifacts into the orphanage, and it's probably going to be a totally different paranormal experience. How the investigation may go.
It's just going to be an awesome weekend in Gettysburg, and to everyone watching, we look forward to seeing you when you come to town. And our goal is that everyone's going to have a great time, be respectful, and enjoy everything Gettysburg has to offer when you get here, including Annabelle. So,
Nick, thank you to you and your team for coming on tonight as well.
Yeah,
and we look forward to working with you. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Seriously, you guys are the best. Again, Tom couldn't have said it any better. We hold you guys in such high regard. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us on, guys. See you in Gettysburg.
We'll see us. Yeah, that was pretty cool that they all came on, and we got to engage with pretty much the team Black Lantern Paranormal. I think a great bunch of people, and I can't wait till we investigate with them.
Yeah,
and they're going to be helping us out a lot.
It's going to be fun, and I think we'll be doing a lot more things in the future too.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to keep coming back to Gettysburg. I love it there. I love the people there. I love Christina. I love Tom. Now I love Black Lantern Paranormal. They rock, and they seem like really cool people. And I can't wait to go down there and just have this great, time down there, bringing the Warrens Occult Museum, Annabelle, the biggest item in the Warrens Occult Museum, down to Gettysburg, into the orphanage.
I mean, we went down last year, 7-8 months ago.
Yeah.
It was such a success. We were welcomed with open arms. People begged us to come back, and I mean, we were going to come back anyway. I mean, I'm glad we got the opportunity again to come down.
Yeah, maybe I'll stay down for another weekend.
Okay.
And maybe we'll just do another weekend down there after the 11th. Who knows?
Yeah.
Possibilities are there.
We'll see. I mean, that's not bad.
But guys,
I don't want to forget.
No, you got to do a shout out.
I want to do a shout out to our friends Terry and Amanda Thomas.
Yes.
At Haunted Trails of Gettysburg. They're another great place to go investigate. They have, and it's not just like we were talking before. It's not just battlefields, and that is they have so much other stuff that's going on, literally right in their backyard.
Right. They call it the Haunted Trails.
The Haunted Trails. Yeah, right. It's literally in their backyard.
It is a pretty cool the way they have it set up. These trails in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're gonna have a great experience back there. Plus the history of that land.
History, and all the unknowns and all the weird stuff that happens there. The things in the trees. What are they called? That they see in the trees. I forget what.
I don't know. I think that's Amanda. That's Amanda's tree that she has back there.
They have the tree that you're supposed to hug there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Amanda. You're gonna get mad at me for forgetting that. But they have the other things that they see in the tree, the ape people or something.
I don't know what they call them.
And the UFO experiences that they have. And of course, their house was a field hospital. It was used as a field hospital.
Right. And that was a Confederate.
So much.
That was actually a Confederate field hospital.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I want to give a shout out to them. If you're coming up to Gettysburg for our event, that's just something else you guys can do while you're up there.
There's so much to do down in
and-
Gettysburg.
Right. And it's a busy weekend up there, so I wouldn't wait too long to look into it and try to get tickets.
All right, guys. This
So,
is going to
anyway.
wrap it up for this episode here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out and listening, guys.
All our other events, warrensconvention.com.
WarrensConvention.com, guys. Like I said, it's just not Gettysburg. We got Maine, Augusta, Maine, coming in September. We have Rock Island Expo coming in October.
Illinois.
And we have Scarefest in Lexington, Kentucky, the 3rd week of October, guys. So go to WarrensConvention.com and get your tickets there. And we'll see you guys next week.
Ed was passionate about helping people because Ed lived in a haunted house. He lived in a haunted house in Bridgeport, Connecticut from age 5 to age 12. So he said to me, when I got out of the Navy, I said, I'm going to find out if other people had the same experiences that I did when I lived in that house.
From the time that I was about 7 years old, I remember seeing lights around people. I realized that I was communicating. My Catholic faith is very, very important to me and still is today, and that helped me